Hello, my name is Maverick Grant. 31 years of life, and I've lived through days that sometimes even I can't believe I've overcome. From a boy growing up in a working-class neighborhood where my parents, Noah and Lainey, toiled to raise my brother and me, I learned that nothing comes easy. Everything I have today, the lavish penthouse overlooking the city, a stable job, a reputation in the finance industry, is the result of late nights, tireless days, and moments when I pushed myself to keep going. But tonight, standing in my penthouse, I feel an indescribable pride. This isn't just a home. It's living proof of my relentless efforts. The penthouse sits on the top floor of a luxurious downtown building. Its floor-to-ceiling glass walls open to a dazzling cityscape, where urban lights twinkle like stars fall into earth. The interior is meticulously curated. Plush leather sofas, a polished walnut dining table, and a small bar stocked with vintage wines I've collected over the years. Everything exudes sophistication without ostentation. This is the place I dreamed of during the days I spent in a cramped rental room working tirelessly to save every penny. And now, that dream is real. I still remember the day I signed the contract for this penthouse. It was a rainy afternoon, and I stood by the window of my company's office, pen in hand, heart pounding. The real estate agent looked at me with a mix of admiration and surprise. "You're so young and already buying a place like this?" "Impressive." I just smiled, but inside a wave of emotion surged. I thought of my parents, who sacrificed their lives to raise me and Logan. I thought of the years buried in work, learning to invest, and the failures that made me want to give up. But I never stopped. And now, I had a place to call home, a place that was truly mine. To celebrate, I hosted a small party at the penthouse. I wanted to share this joy with the most important people in my life: my parents, a few close friends from college, and some trusted colleagues. I spent the whole day preparing. Trays of food were elegantly arranged: grilled Wagyu beef, olive oil-dressed salads, and desserts from my mother's favorite bakery. I played soft jazz music, creating an atmosphere both warm and refined. As guests arrived, laughter filled the air, mingling with the warm glow of candles I'd lit around the room. My father, Noah, clapped me on the shoulder, his eyes shining with pride. "Son, you've made us so proud." My mother, Lainey, hugged me tightly, tears glistening. "Maverick, you've achieved what we never dared to dream." I looked around the room, my heart swelling with happiness. Friends raised their glasses in a toast. Colleagues marveled at the view from the penthouse balcony. I stood there, wine glass in hand, savoring every moment. This wasn't just a house. It was a symbol of my independence, of the years I fought to prove I could make it. I vowed to myself to protect this place, to safeguard my achievement no matter what. But that joy didn't last forever. A few weeks after the party, Logan, my younger brother, showed up. Logan, 25, is the golden child of the family. He's my opposite in every way. While I grew up with a sense of self-reliance, Logan was spoiled from a young age. Whatever he wanted, designer clothes, expensive toys, lavish trips, he got. I don't blame my parents. I know they just wanted to make up for the hardships our family endured. But it turned Logan into someone selfish, accustomed to indulgence, and sometimes dismissive of others. He had just returned from 4 years studying abroad in Europe, bringing with him a suitcase full of designer clothes and the smug attitude I knew all too well. I still remember the afternoon Logan knocked on my penthouse door. I had just come home from work, exhausted after a long day of meetings. He stood there, grinning widely, his suitcase parked beside him. "Big brother," he called out, his voice brimming with enthusiasm as if we were close. "Heard you got a fancy penthouse. Let me check it out." I invited him in, partly out of courtesy, partly to avoid upsetting our parents. Logan stepped inside, his eyes lighting up as he looked around. "Man, you're living large. This place must cost millions, right?" He ran his hand over the dining table, peeked at the bar, and flopped onto the sofa as if he owned the place. We talked for a while. Logan regaled me with stories of his time in Europe, lavish parties, women he met, and reckless spending I didn't care to hear about. I nodded along, trying to keep things light. Then, as I'd predicted, he started circling around to his real point. "Hey bro, I just got back and things aren't quite settled yet. So, can I crash here for a bit? Just a few weeks, I promise." He looked at me with pleading eyes, but I knew Logan too well. His bit could stretch into months, even years. I wanted to say no right away. This was my home, the result of my sweat and sacrifice. I didn't want anyone, even my brother, turning it into their playground. But then I thought of our parents. I knew if I refused, Logan would run to them whining, and they'd guilt me for not loving my brother. "Family comes first," my mother always said. I sighed and nodded reluctantly. "Fine, but just for a short time, Logan. I have my own life, you understand?" Logan nodded eagerly, his smile radiant. "Of course, bro. I won't be a bother." But deep down, a sense of unease crept in. I knew Logan. I knew he never kept his promises. And I knew my penthouse was now at risk of being invaded. At first, Logan kept up appearances. He woke up earlier than usual, put on a dress shirt, and pretended to browse his laptop as if job hunting. "Bro, I just sent applications to a few big companies," he said, his voice brimming with confidence. I nodded, trying to believe his promises, though deep down I remained wary. But it didn't take long for the facade to crack. The few weeks he promised stretched into 1 month, then 2. He stopped mentioning job searches altogether. Instead, Logan began turning my penthouse into his personal playground. Every morning I left the house at 7, diving into meetings, managing projects, and monitoring investment portfolios. I lived by a strict schedule, every minute calculated to avoid waste. Meanwhile, Logan slept in until noon, sometimes 3 in the afternoon. I'd come home after a long day to find him sprawled on the sofa, phone in hand, chuckling at mindless videos. My fridge, once stocked with healthy food I'd prepared for the week, was now empty. Logan ate everything as if it belonged to him. From the Greek yogurt I bought for breakfast to the steaks I'd saved for the weekend. "Bro, why let good food like this go to waste?" he said, chewing noisily without a hint of remorse. But that wasn't the worst of it. Logan started ordering expensive takeout. I opened my credit card statement and nearly fell over. Sushi from a high-end Japanese restaurant, imported truffle pizzas, and bottles of vintage wine I'd never dream of buying. "Logan, when did you order all this?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice calm. He shrugged, flashing a carefree grin. "Oh, just a few things, bro. I figured you wouldn't mind the small stuff." I gripped the statement, feeling my blood boil. But I didn't want to make a scene. I told myself, I'm the older brother. I have to be patient. Then the party started. Logan invited his rich study abroad friends to the penthouse. They swept in like a tornado. Stylish guys, glamorous girls with heavy makeup, bringing booze and blaring electronic music. My penthouse, once serene with soft jazz and flickering candlelight, turned into a chaotic dance floor. The Bluetooth speaker roared, glasses shattered on the floor, and the stench of alcohol filled the air. One night I came home at midnight, exhausted from a grueling workday, only to find Logan and his friends dancing on the balcony, shouting as if they owned the city. "Logan, can you turn the music down? I need to rest," I said, my voice trembling with restraint. He turned, smirking. "Come on, bro, lighten up. Life's too short." I stood there, watching my beloved home become Logan's playground, a wave of helplessness washing over me. I tried talking to him. Multiple times I sat him down, choosing quiet moments to reason. "Logan, you're 25. You need to find a job, build your own life. I can't take care of you forever," I said gently, trying not to let my emotions take over. But he just laughed, that dismissive laugh that told me he didn't care. "Relax, bro, I'm looking for work. The job market's tough right now, you know." Then came the excuses. "I just got back to the country, I need time to adjust." Or, "You're so successful, what's the harm in helping me out a bit?" Each time I fell silent, knowing arguing with Logan was pointless. He always dodged, always made me feel like I was being too harsh. The contrast between us grew stark. Every morning I woke early, went for a run, made coffee, and prepared for a productive day. I managed major projects at work, tracked the stock market, and spent weekends reading or researching investments. I lived with discipline, knowing everything I had came from hard work, not luck. Meanwhile, Logan stayed up late watching movies, slept through the day, and spent money like it was infinite. He contributed nothing, only leeching off others' success, mine specifically. My penthouse, once my pride, was now littered with empty wine bottles, scattered tissues, and stains on the white rug I'd meticulously cared for. It wasn't my home anymore. It was becoming Logan's playground. I started feeling suffocated in my own house. Every time I walked through the door, the peace I once cherished was gone. Instead, I was greeted by blaring music, the smell of cigarette smoke from Logan's friends, and the sinking feeling that I was losing control. One late night, I stood on the balcony staring at the twinkling city below, my heart heavy. I'd worked my whole life for this place, but now I was sharing it with someone who didn't respect it. I wondered, am I being too weak? Have I let Logan overstep too much? Yet I held back. I didn't want to escalate, didn't want my parents to think I was a selfish brother. I feared that if I kicked Logan out, they'd turn their backs on me. My mother would say, "Family comes first, Maverick. You can't abandon your brother." I dreaded seeing disappointment in my father's eyes, so I gritted my teeth and endured, hoping one day Logan would realize and change. But deep down, I knew that was unlikely. Logan wasn't someone who knew when to stop, and I, though I hated to admit it, was slowly becoming trapped in my own home. That night, standing alone in the cluttered living room, I looked into the large mirror on the wall. My face was tired, my eyes sunken from sleepless nights. I asked myself, "Maverick, you fought your whole life for this. So why are you letting someone take it away?" The question pierced my heart, but I had no answer. Only a smoldering anger and a growing sense that if I didn't act, I'd lose everything. On a Sunday morning, I drove to my parents' house, the small suburban home where Logan and I grew up. The familiar scent of drip coffee mingled with the aroma of my mother's freshly baked cookies. My father sat in his armchair reading the newspaper while my mother busied herself cleaning the kitchen. Seeing them brought back memories of my childhood when they worked tirelessly to raise us. I've always been grateful for them, but today I wasn't just visiting. I needed to have a serious talk. "Maverick, how have you been? It's been a while since you stopped by," my mother said with a smile, placing a plate of cookies in front of me. I took a deep breath, searching for the gentlest way to start. "I'm fine, Mom. But I want to talk about Logan." The air in the room shifted, growing heavy. My father folded his newspaper, his eyes sharp. "What about Logan? Is he okay?" I laid it all out, holding nothing back. The raucous parties, the piling credit card bills, the way Logan had turned my penthouse into his personal playground. I spoke slowly, trying to keep my voice calm, but inside, a storm was brewing. "I just want you to talk to him. He needs to stand on his own, find a job, and he needs to move out of my place." I waited, hoping they'd understand, that they'd take my side, even just this once. But their reaction hit me like a punch to the gut. My mother frowned, her voice laced with reproach. "Maverick, what are you talking about? Logan just got back to the country. He needs time to adjust. You're his older brother. How can you be so petty with him?" My father chimed in, his voice low but cutting. "Logan's still young. He needs support. You have a house, you have money. What's the harm in helping him a little?" I was stunned. I'd braced myself for them defending Logan, but I didn't expect them to turn on me as if I were the one in the wrong. "But Mom, Dad, he's not just staying with me," I tried to explain, my voice starting to shake. "He's disrupting my life, spending my money, and he has no intention of standing on his own. I can't live like this forever." I hesitated, then pressed on, hoping they'd see my side. "I need my own space, my own life." But in that moment, my father stood, his eyes burning into me. "Maverick, if you dare kick your brother out, don't call me your father anymore." His words cut like a knife, slicing deep into my heart. My mother added, her voice choked but resolute, "Family comes first, Maverick. You don't betray your own blood. Logan's your brother. You have to protect him, at all costs." I sat there, my hands gripping the chair, feeling like the world was collapsing around me. I'd hoped my parents would be my support, help me solve this problem. Instead, they pushed me into an impossible corner. If I stood firm with Logan, I'd lose my parents' approval, the people I'd spent years trying to make proud. But if I kept giving in, I'd lose myself, lose the penthouse I'd poured my sweat into earning. I looked at them, searching for a glimmer of understanding in their eyes, but found only disappointment and blame. They didn't see the nights I stayed up working, the times I gritted my teeth to save every penny for that home. They only saw Logan, the baby of the family they'd always coddled. Driving back, a bitter resentment welled up inside me. For years, I'd done everything to make my parents proud. I excelled in school, worked hard, built a career from scratch without relying on anyone. But now, all that effort seemed meaningless. My penthouse, the symbol of my independence, had become Logan's crash pad, and I didn't even have the right to say no. I felt like a prisoner, not of Logan, but of my family's warped sense of love. The penthouse, once my pride and joy, had become a cage, trapping me in endless patience. My parents didn't understand, Logan didn't change, and I was slowly losing myself. I needed a way out, someone to help me reclaim my voice, and the only person I could think of was Quinn. Quinn had been my best friend since college. She was an up-and-coming actress with curly, voluminous hair and sharp eyes that radiated confidence. We met in a literature class where I was the quiet bookworm and she was the center of attention. Quinn understood me better than anyone, knowing I was kind and accommodating, sometimes to my own detriment. She once told me, "Maverick, you're too good, but sometimes being too good hurts you." Now, stuck in my own home, I knew Quinn was the only one who could help. I arranged to meet her at a small cafe near the penthouse, a place where we used to chat in our younger days. When I walked in, Quinn was already there wearing an oversized sweater, a steaming latte in front of her. She smiled, but the moment she saw my eyes, her smile faded. "God, Maverick, you look like you've been hit by a truck. What's going on?" I sighed and poured it all out. Logan's noisy parties, the mounting credit card bills, my parents' favoritism, and the helplessness eating away at me. "Quinn, I don't know what to do anymore. I've tried talking to Logan, to my parents, but no one's on my side. I'm losing my own home." Quinn listened, gently stirring her coffee, her eyes flashing with a hint of anger. When I finished, she nodded, leaned back, and flashed a mischievous grin. "Maverick, you need a plan. And I've got one." I looked at her, half curious, half wary. "What kind of plan?" She took a sip of her latte, then lowered her voice as if revealing a blockbuster secret. "I'll pretend to be your girlfriend. A mega Karen girlfriend. You know, the fierce, fiery, nitpicky type who sets rules and doesn't let anyone off easy. I'll make Logan feel like the penthouse isn't his paradise anymore. He'll leave on his own and you won't have to look like the bad brother." I nearly choked on my coffee. "Are you serious? Pretend to be my girlfriend? How's Logan going to buy that?" Quinn laughed, her eyes sparkling with confidence. "Maverick, I'm an actress. I know how to make things look real. And you think Logan's smart enough to suspect anything? All he knows is partying and mooching." She had a point, but I hesitated. What if he figures it out? Things could get worse. Quinn leaned forward, locking eyes with me. "Maverick, you've been giving in for too long. If you keep this up, you'll lose everything. Your home, your freedom, your self-respect. Let me be the bad guy for you. I'll make Logan run from that penthouse without you having to say a word." Her words were like a light piercing through the fog. The plan was crazy, but I was out of options. I didn't want to keep living like a stranger in my own home or face my parents' disappointed looks for daring to set boundaries. Looking at Quinn, seeing the determination in her eyes, I started to believe this could be my way out. "You sure about this?" I asked, my voice still tinged with doubt. Quinn shrugged, her confident smile unwavering. Absolutely. Leave it to me. This weekend I'm moving into the Penthouse and starting my performance. I sat there, my heart racing. Quinn's plan was bold and terrifying. I pictured her, with her explosive personality and acting prowess, turning the Penthouse into a place where Logan could no longer feel at ease. But I was also nervous. What if Logan didn't leave? What if my parents found out and blamed me again? Yet looking at Quinn's confidence and resolve, I felt a spark of hope. For the first time in weeks, I thought I might reclaim my life. Okay, I said, my voice low but firm. I'm in. Do it, Quinn. She grinned brightly, raising her latte cup as if toasting. Nice one, Maverick. Get ready because I'm about to turn your Penthouse into a theater stage. I gave a small smile, but inside, a wave of emotion surged. I was excited, scared, but above all, I knew I wasn't alone in this fight anymore. Quinn was by my side, and maybe, just maybe, I could take back my Penthouse and myself. The day Quinn moved in, I stood at the Penthouse door, my heart pounding. She arrived with a small suitcase, her curly hair tied high, and a confident smile. But today, Quinn wasn't the cheerful best friend I knew. She had fully embraced her role, my new girlfriend, a bold, no-nonsense woman who wasn't easy to please. Ready, Maverick? She winked, her voice low and mischievous. I nodded, though nerves churned inside me. Just act natural, Quinn. But don't overdo it, okay? She laughed heartily, clapping my shoulder. Relax. I know what I'm doing. Logan won't know what hit him. As we stepped into the Penthouse, Logan was sprawled on the sofa, phone in hand, earbuds plugged in. He looked up, eyeing Quinn curiously. Oh, you got company? He asked, his voice lazy. I took a deep breath, ready to play my part. Logan, this is Quinn, my girlfriend. She's staying here for a while. Quinn stepped forward, shaking his hand with a stiff smile and eyes sharp as knives. Hi, Logan. Mavericks told me a lot about you. Her tone was sweet but carried a chilling edge that made Logan pause. Hi, he replied, clearly thrown off by the presence of a stranger in the house. Quinn made an immediate impact. She wasted no time launching into her mega Karen performance. That afternoon, when Logan casually opened the fridge to grab a bottle of juice I'd bought, Quinn spoke up, her voice crisp. Hey Logan, you just take things without asking? This is Maverick's house. You should show some respect. Logan froze, the bottle hovering midair. It's just juice. I'll ask him next time, he said, forcing a laugh to keep things light. But Quinn didn't let up. Just juice? Then buy your own next time. This isn't a free supermarket. I stood at the kitchen counter pretending to check my phone, but inwardly I was in awe. In less than an hour, Quinn had flustered Logan, something I'd never managed. Quinn quickly established unspoken rules in the house, her tone firm yet polished, something I'd never dared to enforce. She roamed the Penthouse, critiquing everything with a mix of courtesy and sharpness. Maverick, why's the floor so dirty? Logan, did you spill something on the rug? She asked, hands on hips, her gaze sweeping over Logan like a stern housekeeper. He mumbled something but didn't argue back. Quinn pressed on. From now on, this place stays clean. No littering, and absolutely no loud parties. Maverick works all day. He needs rest. Got it? Logan nodded, but I could see the irritation in his eyes. The Penthouse, once his personal playground, was now hemmed in by boundaries he wasn't used to. Quinn didn't stop there. She laid out a series of house rules that sounded reasonable but were designed to rein Logan in. We're keeping strict hours, she declared at our first dinner together, the three of us seated around the dining table. No loud music after 10 p.m. And if you want to have friends over, you ask first. This is Maverick's home, not a bar. I sat quietly, stifling a laugh as Logan frowned, clearly unhappy but unsure how to push back. Sure, fine, he said awkwardly, focusing on his plate to avoid Quinn's gaze. Over the next few days, Quinn performed her role flawlessly. She complained about everything. Logan's shoes scattered by the door, the dirty dishes he left in the sink. Once, when he reached for an expensive bottle of wine from my collection, Quinn nearly shouted, "What are you doing with that wine? Do you know how much it's worth?" Logan flinched, put the bottle back, and muttered an apology. I stood in the corner pretending to work on my laptop, but I was amazed. Quinn wasn't just acting. She was making Logan feel watched every second, every minute. Logan grew visibly frustrated. The penthouse, where he'd once run free, had become a pressure cooker. His study abroad friends, who used to turn my home into a dance floor, started hesitating to visit. One evening, when Logan invited a few over, Quinn swooped in like a storm. "Who are these people? Logan, you didn't mention guests. This isn't a hangout spot for partying." She stood in the living room, arms crossed, her voice commanding. Logan's friends squirmed, some quickly apologizing and leaving. Logan watched them go, his face red with anger, but he didn't dare argue. "Quinn, you're being a bit much," he said, his voice trembling. Quinn raised an eyebrow. "Too much? You're crashing at my boyfriend's place, Logan. Want freedom? Get your own house." I played neutral, as Quinn and I had planned. Whenever Logan shot me a pleading look, I shrugged or gave a vague smile. "Listen to Quinn, Logan. She's just looking out for the house." I said it casually, but inside I felt an odd relief. For the first time in months, Logan was on the back foot and I wasn't the villain. Quinn, with her Lady of the House act, was slowly making the penthouse a place where Logan no longer felt at ease. He was starting to realize this wasn't his base anymore. But I knew it was only the beginning. Logan wasn't one to give up easily, and I worried he'd push back. Each night, lying in bed, I wondered if this plan would work or make things worse. But looking at Quinn sleeping on the living room sofa to keep up her role, I felt reassured. She was fighting for me, and I couldn't let her down. The following weeks, the atmosphere in the penthouse was taut as a bowstring. Quinn continued her mega Karen performance with brilliance, ensuring Logan didn't have a moment of comfort. Every morning, she woke early, cleaning the house with near-obsessive zeal, constantly griping about Logan's shoe marks on the floor, dirty glasses he left behind, or even how he misplaced the TV remote. "Logan, can you be a little more careful? This is Maverick's house, not a dorm," she snapped, her voice sharp and her eyes cutting like knives. Logan, who initially brushed it off with a forced smile, grew increasingly irritable. He stopped sleeping in until noon, not because he wanted to change, but because Quinn deliberately ran the vacuum cleaner or blasted classical music right outside his room in the early hours. Logan's friends, who once turned the penthouse into a dance floor, began to stay away. One time, when a group showed up, Quinn stormed in like a hurricane, broom in hand, her voice icy. "What are you people doing here?" I said no gatherings without notice. She stood blocking the door, her gaze sweeping over them like they were suspects. The group faltered, some mumbling apologies before leaving. One guy tried to argue. "Chill, lady, it's just a small get-together." Quinn raised an eyebrow and shot back. "Small? Don't forget you lot broke Maverick's crystal glass last time and ate all the food. This isn't your playground. Want to party? Go to a bar. Out now." Logan stood there, his face flushed, but he didn't dare speak. I sat in the corner, pretending to read the news, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. Logan grew more frustrated. The penthouse, once his paradise for partying, now felt like a prison with strict rules. He started avoiding Quinn, locking himself in his room or staying out all day. But each time he returned, his eyes burned with resentment. I noticed a change in him. From carefree, Logan became tense and short-tempered. Once I overheard him muttering to himself in his room, "She thinks she owns the place? This is my brother's house." I knew a storm was brewing, and I could only hope Quinn was strong enough to face it. And the truth was, Logan didn't give up easily. He started sneaking around, finding ways to bypass Quinn and continue his indulgent lifestyle. I realized that despite his friends being turned away multiple times, they still came over when Quinn wasn't watching. On days I was at work and Quinn was out, filming or rehearsing for a new role, Logan took advantage, inviting friends over. He was more cautious, keeping the music low, telling his friends to stay quiet, and cleaning up sloppily before Quinn returned. Once, I found empty beer bottles hidden under the sofa, but when I confronted him, Logan just shrugged. Just a few friends stopping by, bro. No big deal. Then one night, everything exploded. I came home exhausted after a grueling day. As I opened the penthouse door, I was hit with blaring electronic music, flashing lights from a Bluetooth speaker, and Logan's friends dancing wildly in the living room. Bottles from my wine collection were opened, glasses scattered on the table, and the stench of cigarette smoke filled the air. Logan stood in the center wearing an open shirt, wine glass in hand, laughing loudly as if proving he was still king of the place despite Quinn's rules. I froze at the door, a wave of anger surging through me. I was about to storm in and yell to stop it all, but before I could speak, the bedroom door flew open. Quinn emerged, her curly hair disheveled from just waking up. She'd been home all day after a canceled shoot and had clearly fallen asleep in my room. Her eyes blazed like fire, hands on hips, her voice drowning out the music. "Logan, what the hell are you doing?" She marched over, shutting off the Bluetooth speaker with a swift motion, silencing the room. Logan's friends stopped dancing, exchanging awkward glances. "How many times have I told you? No parties here. Do you know what time it is?" Quinn pointed at the door, her voice icy. "Everyone out now." Logan rushed forward, his face red, eyes blazing. "Who are you to order me around? This is my brother's house, not yours." Quinn didn't flinch. She stepped closer, just feet from him, and fired back. "Your brother's house? Don't forget you're just crashing here, Logan. You don't get to treat this place like your personal dump." The argument erupted like wildfire, Logan's friends slipping out one by one, unwilling to get involved. Logan shouted in Quinn's face, his voice trembling with rage. "You think you're the boss here? I'm here because Maverick let me, not you." Quinn smirked, unshaken. "Maverick let you? Ask him what you've done to his house. You spend his money, trash his place, and now you dare argue? If you don't respect this house, get out." Logan turned to me, his eyes pleading. "Maverick, say something." "She's crazy." I stood there, heart racing, but kept the calm demeanor Quinn and I had planned. "Listen to Quinn, Logan," I said evenly, though inside I felt an odd sense of liberation. Logan froze, as if he couldn't believe his brother was siding with a stranger. His voice cracked with anger. "You're taking her side? Fine, you both want me gone, don't you?" He stormed to his room, packing his things in a fury, muttering curses. "I don't need this place. You'll regret this, Maverick. Don't expect me to call you my brother anymore." His threats echoed, but I didn't feel scared. Instead, I felt relief. Logan dragged his suitcase to the door, throwing one last resentful glare before disappearing into the night. When the door slammed shut, the penthouse fell silent. Quinn turned to me, letting out a tired but triumphant sigh, a smile playing on her lips. "He's gone. Totally worth it." I looked at her, my heart swelling with gratitude. But deep inside, a new worry began to creep in. Logan had left, but his threats, "You'll regret this," echoed in my mind like an unresolved curse. I pushed the thought aside, not wanting it to ruin the moment. For the first time in months, I felt the penthouse was truly my home again. I stepped into the living room, once a battleground of raucous parties, broken wine bottles, and the stench of cigarette smoke. Now the space was strangely quiet. I stood before the large glass window, gazing at the city twinkling under the night lights. For the first time in ages, I didn't feel suffocated. The penthouse, a symbol of the years I poured my sweat and tears into, was mine once more. Quinn walked over, placing a hand on my shoulder. "You okay, Maverick? You don't look so good. Did I go too far?" Her voice was gentle, a stark contrast to the sharpness she'd shown with Logan. I turned, meeting her bright eyes, and smiled. No, it was perfect. I'm okay. Really okay. All thanks to you, Quinn." She shrugged, flashing a mischievous grin. "Don't thank me yet. I just did what needed doing. Now what's the plan for this place? You gonna let it stay this gloomy?" I laughed, a wave of relief spreading through my chest. "No way. I think we should celebrate. A small party, just the two of us. What do you say?" Quinn clapped her hands, her eyes sparkling. "Brilliant idea. But no truffle pizzas or fancy wines like Logan's style." Let's do something. Quintessentially maverick. I nodded, feeling a surge of new energy. This was my chance to reclaim not just my home, but the joyful moments I'd lost over the past months. We got to work preparing a small party that night. I raided the fridge, pulling out what was left. Some pasta, fresh tomatoes, and a jar of homemade pesto I'd made the previous week. Quinn, with the finesse of an actress, transformed into a capable sous chef. She chopped vegetables, humming an old jazz tune, filling the kitchen with warmth. I watched her, her curly hair disheveled from sweat, and couldn't help but smile. "You'd make a great comedian too," I teased. Quinn raised an eyebrow, tossing a tomato slice at me. "Watch it, buddy." I'm still in Karen mode. Together, we prepared a simple but elegant spread. Pesto pasta, a green salad, and a plate of cheeses I'd saved for special occasions. I pulled out a bottle of red wine from my collection. Not the expensive ones Logan had opened, but one I'd bought on a trip to Italy years ago. A keepsake that reminded me of freer days when I dreamed of this penthouse. Quinn eyed the bottle, nodding approvingly. "Nice choice. Pure maverick. Simple but classy." We sat across from each other at the dining table, candlelight flickering against the glass windows. I raised my glass, looking into Quinn's eyes. "Thank you, Quinn. If it weren't for you, I'd still be stuck. Maybe forever." She smiled, clinking her glass against mine. "To victory, Maverick. Not just because Logan's gone, but because you stood up for yourself." Our glasses chimed in the quiet space, a sound that felt like an affirmation that I'd reclaimed my life. Our little party wasn't loud or crowded, but it was filled with sincerity. We laughed, reminisced about college days, our silly arguments, and the dreams we'd shared. But tonight felt different. As I looked at Quinn, her eyes glowing in the candlelight, I realized she was more than a friend. She was the one who stood by me when I was at my weakest, fighting for me without needing any reason beyond friendship. I felt a new, deeper connection, as if our relationship was moving into a new phase. Not just friends, but true partners. As the party wound down, we cleaned up in silence with soft jazz playing from the speakers. I stood at the kitchen counter, watching Quinn wipe down the table, and suddenly said, "Quinn, do you think we'll be okay after everything?" She paused, turning to me with a gentle smile. "Maverick, you've taken back your home. You'll be fine. And I'll always be here if you need me." Her words felt like a promise, and I knew that whatever the future held, I wouldn't be alone. But deep down, a faint unease lingered. Just a few days later, my fears became reality. On a weekend morning, as I sat at the dining table, sipping coffee and checking work emails, my phone buzzed. My mother's name flashed on the screen. I took a deep breath, bracing myself. "Maverick?" Her voice on the other end was choked, as if she'd been crying. "Logan came home last night, drunk. He said you and your girlfriend kicked him out. He has nowhere to go. How could you do this to your brother?" Her words cut like a knife, sharp and painful, but this time I didn't feel the fear I once did. I'd anticipated this call, but hearing her voice, my heart still grew heavy. "Mom, it's not like that. I'll explain, but I want to do it in person." I kept my voice calm, though my heart raced. "We're coming over this afternoon," my father cut in, his tone low and cold. "You need to explain everything. Family isn't treated like this." The call ended and I sat staring at the cooling coffee on the table. My parents were siding with Logan as always, but this time I wasn't going to back down. I needed someone to help me speak the truth, and there was only one person sharp enough for that. I picked up the phone and called Quinn. "Quinn, I need you," I said as soon as she answered. "My parents are coming over. They think I kicked Logan out. I need you here to help me explain." Quinn didn't hesitate. "I'll be there. Don't worry. We'll sort this out." That afternoon, the penthouse doorbell rang. I opened the door to find my parents standing there, their faces stern. My father, with his silver hair and eyes sharp as knives, stepped inside without a word, his leather shoes clicking sharply on the wooden floor. My mother followed, her eyes red, clutching her purse as if trying to hold back her emotions. "Maverick," she began, her voice trembling. "Logan told us everything. He said you and your girlfriend made him feel like an outsider in his own brother's house. Do you know how much that hurt him? My blood boiled, but I held back, inviting them to sit on the sofa. Mom, Dad, we need to talk. But I want Quinn here too. My father frowned, his voice dropping. Quinn? Who is this girl to interfere in our family matters? Before I could answer, the door opened and Quinn walked in, her curly hair tied high, her eyes confident yet gentle as she faced my parents. Hello, Mr. Noah, Mrs. Laney, she said, her voice soft but firm. I'm Maverick's best friend, and I think I can help explain this. My mother eyed Quinn with suspicion but sat down without another word. I poured water, trying to ease the tension, but my mother didn't wait. Maverick, you're the older brother. You have a house, a career, and Logan's still finding his way. How could you let this girl, she pointed at Quinn, kick your brother out? You know how much he needs you. My father added, his voice almost a growl. Family comes first, Maverick. You don't turn your back on your brother for an outsider. My chest tightened, but I didn't argue. Instead, I looked at Quinn, signaling her to speak. I knew I needed her, not just to stay calm, but to say the things I'd never dared confront my parents with. Quinn sat down across from them, her eyes calm but powerful. Mr. Noah, Mrs. Laney, I know you love Logan. I'm not here to judge that love, but I want you to face a truth. She paused, taking a deep breath, then continued, her voice gentle but sharp as a blade. Logan has been spoiled since he was young. Everything he wanted was given to him. I know you wanted to make up for the hardships you faced, but that's made him unable to stand on his own. He doesn't look for work, doesn't try, because he knows someone will always cover for him. My father frowned, about to interrupt, but Quinn raised a hand, signaling him to wait. Do you know what Logan's been doing here? He's turned Maverick's home into a party pad, spending his money without a shred of guilt. Every time he's shielded, he sinks deeper into dependency. You think that's love, but it's hurting him. The room grew heavy. My mother bowed her head, clutching her purse, while my father, always so resolute, fell silent, his eyes wavering. Quinn continued, her voice softening like she was telling a sad story. Maverick tried to help Logan. He put up with him, paid for his expensive bills, endured parties that trashed his home. But Logan didn't change because he knew someone always had his back. I didn't kick him out. I just set boundaries Maverick should have set long ago. If Logan doesn't learn to stand on his own, he'll forever be a grown child, living off others. My father opened his mouth to argue but stopped, his gaze dropping. My mother, her eyes red, murmured, "We just wanted the best for him." Quinn nodded, her tone gentler. I know, but love isn't shielding. It's letting Logan learn responsibility. If you keep protecting him, he'll never grow up. For the first time, I saw them falter, as if Quinn's words had struck a truth they didn't want to face. I seized the moment, speaking softly but firmly. Mom, Dad, I don't want to hurt Logan. I just want him to stand on his own like I did. I worked my whole life for this house, and I deserve to live in my own space. I love our family, but I need boundaries. If I keep giving in, neither I nor Logan will ever change. My parents fell silent. My mother looked at me, a tear rolling down her cheek. My father sighed, resting a hand on his knee, his voice low. Maverick, we might have been wrong to spoil Logan so much. It was the first time I'd heard him admit anything about Logan. My mother nodded, her voice trembling. We just wanted the best for him. But maybe we've hurt him. I looked at them, feeling relief mixed with sorrow. I didn't want them to hurt, but I knew this was a necessary turning point, for me and for our family. The conversation ended in silence. My parents stood, saying nothing more, only nodding to Quinn before leaving. When the door closed, I turned to her, my heart full of gratitude. You did what I couldn't, Quinn. Thank you, she smiled, patting my shoulder lightly. I just told the truth. Now you've not only taken back your penthouse, but your voice in your family. I stood there, looking around the penthouse. It was no longer just a house. It was a symbol of my independence, the boundaries I'd dared to set, and the growth I'd achieved after months of struggle. With Quinn by my side, I knew I hadn't just defeated Logan. I'd overcome my own fears. After my parents left, The penthouse sank back into its familiar silence, but this time, it wasn't heavy. It carried a sense of calm, as if all the pressure had been washed away. A few days later, I received a voice message from my mother, her tone softer than usual. "Maverick, your father and I talked to Logan. We might have spoiled him too much. We'll try to help him stand on his own. Don't worry, and thank you for doing the right thing." Her words stunned me. My parents, who had always blindly protected Logan, were starting to change, however slowly. I heard from a mutual friend that Logan had begun looking for a job, though still lazily and with complaints, but at least he wasn't calling to blame me anymore. Perhaps deep down, Logan realized he needed to grow up, even if it came from an uncomfortable wake-up call. I invited Quinn back to the penthouse one weekend evening, not to continue the plan, but simply to thank her. When she walked in wearing a fitted green dress with her curly hair cascading down, my heart skipped a beat. We sat on the balcony sipping wine, the city lights twinkling below like witnesses to the moment. "Quinn," I said, my voice slightly hesitant, "I don't know how to thank you enough. You didn't just help me take back my home. You helped me find myself again." She looked at me, her eyes gleaming under the moonlight, and smiled, not her usual mischievous grin, but something gentle and profound. "Maverick, I did it because you deserve it, and because I care about you more than you know." Her words left me speechless. I looked at her, realizing that the feelings between us had long crossed the boundary of friendship. I took her hand, feeling the warmth of her slender fingers. "Quinn, do you want to try starting something new? Just the two of us?" She didn't answer right away, but her smile and the way she gently squeezed my hand said everything. That night, under the city lights, we shared our first kiss, soft but full of meaning. The penthouse, once a battleground of struggles, had become the starting point for a new story, not just one of independence, but of love. That night, standing on the balcony with Quinn, feeling the warmth of her hand, I realized I had not only reclaimed my home, but also uncovered a hidden part of my heart, a part I had unknowingly locked away during years of relentless work. More than that, this journey taught me profound lessons, not just about family, but about myself. Looking back on the months when Logan dominated the penthouse, I saw that my excessive leniency had been a mistake. I thought that, as the older brother, I had to sacrifice, to be forgiving, to open my home as a haven for my brother. But I was wrong. That leniency didn't help Logan grow. It only emboldened him to overstep, turning my home, the fruit of my sweat and tears, into his personal playground. I let him cross my boundaries, not just in this house, but in my self-respect. The first lesson I learned was this: loving yourself and setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's the only way to maintain respect, not just within a family, but for yourself. Logan, with his indulgent lifestyle and selfish nonchalance, was a clear example of the consequences of overindulgence. From childhood, he was given everything: designer clothes, expensive trips, and a European education I never had. But that coddling turned him into someone dependent, unable to stand on his own. He lived off others, first our parents, then me, without ever considering creating his own value. The raucous parties, the piling bills, and his disregard for my efforts showed that Logan had lost his own credibility. If he didn't learn to be independent, he would forever be a shadow, living off others' kindness without truly growing up. My parents, Noah and Lainey, offered another profound lesson. Their love for Logan was undeniable, but it was warped by overprotection. They thought shielding him, meeting his every need, was how to show love. But they didn't see that each time they did so, they robbed him of the chance to learn responsibility. Their favoritism didn't just hurt me. It trapped Logan in a cycle of dependency. When Quinn spoke up, when I saw my parents fall silent and admit their mistakes, I realized that love doesn't mean shielding. True love requires fairness and responsibility, giving everyone in the family a chance to grow. Quinn, with her wit and courage, was the one who helped me see the truth. As an outsider, she wasn't bound by the complex emotions of my family, allowing her to say what I couldn't. She didn't just play the demanding girlfriend to drive Logan out. She stood up for me, confronted my parents, and helped them see their errors. Her bravery gave me the courage to set boundaries, to reclaim my voice in my family. More than that, she opened a path for change, not just for me, but for Logan and my parents. Thanks to Quinn, I understood that sometimes an outside perspective is needed to illuminate the blind spots we can't see ourselves. Standing in the now peaceful penthouse, I felt a clear message. Family needs love, but that love must be built on fairness and responsibility. Everyone deserves to protect the fruits of their labor, and I, Maverick Grant, had learned to defend what I'd built. The penthouse was no longer just a house. It was a symbol of my independence, the boundaries I'd dared to set, and the budding love between me and Quinn. I looked out at the twinkling city, my heart light but filled with resolve. Whatever challenges the future held, I knew I was ready, not just to protect this home, but to protect myself and those I loved.